Well, it looks like a lot of things are changing. New microphone, new backdrop, and of course, a new president in Venezuela. So just like I talked about in the intro, 2026 is going off with a complete bang. As on January 3rd, the United States of America woke up to a truth by President Donald Trump, which claimed the United States of America has successfully carried out a large-scale strike against Venezuela and its leader, President Nicolas Maduro, who has been, along with his wife, captured and flown out of the country. This operation was done in conjunction with U.S. law enforcement. Details to follow. I mean, that is absolutely insane. I mean, that was not something that I was expected to wake up to on January 3rd. After this attack took place, a lot of people in Venezuela were dancing and celebrating and were very happy that Maduro was gone. People in Florida, which has a very large Venezuelan population, were out in the streets dancing because they were the ones that escaped the warmth of collectivism and came to the individualism of America, and now their home is better. Now their home can be safe, and some people are even talking about going home. Some were saying that this was a day of freedom for the people of Venezuela. A new chapter, if you will, in a country that has been beaten up multiple times. Venezuela literally went from the biggest economy in South America to one of the worst economies in South America. And this is because of the Maduro regime and also because of socialism. Venezuela was constantly sending drugs into our country and hurting our citizens. And so we decided that now was the time to strike. Now was the perfect time to get rid of this guy so then we could stop the drugs from flowing into our country. And what's crazy is before we even woke up, this war is already over with. We took their president. Their vice president has already surrendered to the United States and is going to work with us. So it's over. War is already done. We were successful. Only a couple of United States soldiers got injured, and I'm pretty sure they're going to make a speedy recovery. And everyone that was killed was a part of Maduro's Secret Service. And now we have a situation where things get a little confusing because people that were once protesting on the street for no kings are starting to support Venezuela and also Maduro. Apparently, they are demanding for Maduro to be put back into place because apparently America is evil and terrible. People have been claiming for years that Donald Trump is a wannabe dictator, but when Donald Trump actually goes down and gets a real dictator, all of a sudden it's like, wait a minute, we like him. We want him back in power. It doesn't make any sense. And it's like anything that Donald Trump does, the left just has to oppose no matter what it is, even though this is a very good situation and people are very happy about it. These losers have to come in and destroy all the fun. Now, some Democrats, especially in the House and the Senate, got angry about the situation because, of course, Donald Trump was supposed to notify Congress or the House before he launched a military strike on Venezuela. This is always the argument that they give no matter what happens. According to Donald Trump himself, he didn't tell Congress about what was going to happen because he knew that they were going to go straight to the press and leak everything, and the element of surprise that we had with this mission was going to be gone. Also, under the United States Constitution, there is a Commander-in-Chief Clause. Article 2, Section 2, Clause 1 designates the president as the highest commanding authority over the military. This power includes the authority to deploy forces abroad, commit troops to operations, and determine necessary defense measures. So using that, it's pretty cut and dry that Donald Trump was allowed to do this. And do you know how many presidents have used military power without getting congressional approval? Well, it's a lot of them because the last time that Congress actually declared war was in World War II after the Pearl Harbor bombings. But wait, I hear you say there were a lot of wars that happened between then and then. For wars like Korea, Vietnam, and Iraq, Congress didn't declare war on them. Instead, they just authorized the use of military force, which apparently both of those things are different. This idea of not telling Congress before you strike another country has been going on for years, ever since World War II. Richard Nixon invaded Cambodia without congressional approval. George H.W. Bush invaded Panama and kidnapped their leader and put him on trial in the United States, which we'll talk about later, but he did it without congressional approval. Bill Clinton conducted a 78-day NATO bombing campaign in Kosovo in 1999, as well as Operation Desert Fox in Iraq in 1998, without specific congressional approval for each attack. George W. Bush authorized drone strikes in Pakistan, Yemen, and Somalia, relying on the 2001 Authorization for Use of Military Force, or AUMF. He used that instead of having country-specific approvals. Barack Obama dropped more than 25,000 bombs in 2016 alone across at least 7 nations, including Syria, Iraq, Afghanistan, Libya, Yemen, Somalia, and Pakistan, without any congressional approval at all. In 2011, he initiated a NATO air campaign in Libya, sending that country into an absolute tailspin when their leader was killed and taken out of power, leading to a power vacuum in Libya, which we are still feeling the effects of today. Donald Trump, in his first term, ordered airstrikes in Syria in 2017 and 2018 in response to chemical weapon use. And he also authorized a 2020 drone strike that killed Iranian General Soleimani in Iraq. Joe Biden also striked Iranian-backed militias in Syria, and now Trump has done this strike along with other strikes in Iran. Now, does all of this make it okay for a president to just randomly destroy another country and use military force without any congressional approval? No, it doesn't. But that has to be changed through Congress. That has to be changed through a law being written, because every single president, from Republicans to Democrats, have used this same clause over and over and over again to get away with this. And every single president has used this clause to, in their own terms, defend America's interests overseas. Like for this situation in Venezuela, it is in our best interest to get Maduro out of that country. He was an illegitimate president who has stolen elections countless times. He is a narco boss that terrorizes his own citizens for speaking out against him. He also caused his country to completely collapse and people to starve to death. It is in our best interest to get this guy out. Maybe we run the country for a little bit until we figure out who we can put in, and then that government be better for the people of Venezuela. And you will hear people saying, well, all of this is about oil. All of this is about imperialism. All of this is evil because we're trying to get the oil. Yes, we are trying to get the oil. It is 100% true. But the question is, where was all of that oil going? Well, it was going to countries like Cuba, along with China, who is the biggest exporter of Venezuelan oil, along with Russia. Trump just literally punched Russia and China's economy with one simple move. And in return, it is helping our economy and Venezuela's economy as well. This attack was to show strength and to also show the world that the new Donroe Doctrine is back, which Trump famously coined the Donroe Doctrine. And we have seen this recently with Donald Trump, who is absolutely ticked off about China being in charge of the Panama Canal. That's our canal. We need to get China out of there. The Donroe Doctrine simply said that everyone else needs to get out of our way and we need to focus on our own hemisphere. This is our place, this is our backyard. All of Europe, all of Asia needs to get out of here. And now Russia and China aren't getting any oil from Venezuela. And Europe and other South American countries are put on warning, because they also need to realize that this is our backyard and we can do what we want in our own backyard. I constantly hear people saying, well, this was a violation of international law. This is a violation and Trump should be ashamed of himself. One question though, what in the world is Europe going to do about it? Is Europe going to sanction the most powerful country in the world? Or are they just going to write us a strongly worded letter saying, how dare you do that? You better not do that again. I mean, if they did that, I'd be so scared. I mentioned George H.W. Bush a little bit. I mentioned George H.W. Bush a little bit ago, and now I want to dive a little bit deeper into that situation, because the situation with George H.W. Bush and Panama is exactly what we are dealing with right now. As America literally invaded Panama and arrested their president, just like Donald Trump did with Maduro. As in the 90s, the United States of America invaded Panama and kidnapped their leader and put him on trial in America, just like Donald Trump is doing with Maduro. And guess what happened with that situation? Absolutely nothing. Sure, there was international outrage, and on December 29th, the United Nations General Assembly voted 75 to 20 with 40 absentees to condemn the invasion as a flagrant violation of international law, but then of course they did nothing about it. They just demanded that we left the country, but the operation was already done. We got what we wanted, so really, there was nothing happened. And honestly, they really didn't do anything about it. They just asked us to kindly leave, but the operation was already over, and we already left. So really, the international law didn't really do anything. There was no slaps on the wrist, there was no sanctions, there was no nothing. It was just a vote. It's crazy, and it just goes to show that the United States isn't really scared of international law because we run the show. And really, no one can tell us what to do because we give so much money to the UN. If we back out, all of a sudden, the whole system will just crumble. But what I also found interesting about the Panama situation was how the people reacted after the operation took place, as it was reported that the people of Panama overwhelmingly supported the invasion. As according to a CBS News poll, 92% of Panama adults supported the invasion and 72% wished the United States forces had invaded sooner. After the attack, democracy was restored in Panama. There was an economic boom, and Panama got a better relationship with the United States of America. The best of all of this was that the leader got sentenced. The best of all was that the president of Panama was sentenced to 40 years in prison. And now looking back at this situation with Venezuela, we are seeing people dancing in the streets. We are seeing people celebrating Maduro being arrested and taken away. We see that people are so excited because this is a new chapter in Venezuela. We see that people are excited about the future of Venezuela. This is a new chapter that will hopefully be better than what they've had before. We could see this country turn into a Panama 2.0. Now, we still have a long way to go with this process, as right now it looks like the United States is going to take over for a little bit until they can find a good replacement. But hopefully we can find a new leader very quickly. A new leader that will help the country prosper and make a better life for millions of Venezuelans. No one deserves to live under a dictatorship. No one deserves to live under communism. The United States has freed these people. The United States has freed these people, and right now I think it was a good thing that we did. And it will honestly be exciting to see what happens next. And you know, when something does happen, I'll be here to talk about it. So I just want to thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Dockery Docket. And until next time, like my mom always says, be good, be kind, be loving, goodbye.